I still remember the hush of that old German train station. It was past midnight, and the platform lay empty under the glow of vintage lanterns. The air was cool, just enough to make my breath visible, like little puffs of cloud drifting before me. I had arrived there not by planning, but by heart. My life at the time felt a little stalled. I was drifting, unsure if I belonged in the place I called home or in the job I'd chosen. That's when I noticed it. A solitary, aged train, its windows fogged with time, waiting quietly at the edge of the platform. No schedule, no destination, board only, the soft hiss of steam and the distant echo of a clock tower striking 12. I felt my feet move.
Ow!
Almost of their own accord. As I climbed aboard, I paused when I saw the only other passenger. A little boy with soft brown hair, clutching a worn teddy bear. The boy's eyes met mine with surprise, and something else. Recognition in that moment, I knew this wouldn't be any ordinary ride. I was heading somewhere I had been before, yet somewhere I'd somehow forgotten, as the door slid shut behind me, and the train began to roll, carrying me into the silence of the night and toward a past I hadn't realized I still missed. The train glided through the darkness, smooth and almost silent, as if it didn't need tracks to move. Outside the window, the landscape had changed. The streetlights and city silhouettes faded into open fields lit by the moon. But they weren't just any fields. They looked familiar. The tall grass, the crooked fence, the windmill turning slowly in the distance. Places I hadn't seen in decades. Places from childhood. Inside the cabin, the lights were dim and golden, like the glow of an old memory. I turned to the little boy across from me. He hadn't spoken yet, but he watched me with quiet curiosity, half wary, half warm. He looked exactly like the boy I once was at age 6. The same messy hair, the same scuffed shoes, the same small scar on his eyebrow from falling off a bike. He hugged his teddy closer and finally asked, "Are you sad?" I didn't know what to say. No one had asked me that in a long time, not like that. I tried to smile and answered, "Maybe, a little," nodded as if he already knew. The train had come for that reason alone, to take me somewhere I could remember what it felt like not to be. Outside the window, fireflies danced along the trees. The hum of the tracks became a lullaby. And in that strange, in-between space, neither past nor future, I began to feel something shift inside me. I wasn't just on a train. I was being taken back to myself. The train began to slow. Not with a screech or a jolt, but like a memory returning gently to the surface. Outside the window, I saw a tiny station made of brick and ivy, lit by golden lamps and wrapped in silence. There was no name on the sign. It didn't need one. I knew exactly where we were. This was the town where I grew up. The boy messed it up first. He took my hand without asking, the way children do when they trust you completely. His palm was warm and small, and for a moment I forgot I was ever older than him. We stepped off the train together. The air smelled of rain and bread and lilacs. A familiar wind touched my face, carrying with it the sounds I'd long forgotten, my mother calling me in for dinner. The bark of our old dog Max, the church bell. Ringing from the hill on Sunday mornings, we walked down a narrow lane, past houses that leaned slightly from age, their windows still lit like they were waiting for someone to come home. The boy led me to a red wooden gate, our old front yard. It was the house. My house. The porch swing creaked softly in the wind, and the yellow curtains in the kitchen window danced like they used to when my mother cooked with all the windows open. The boy looked up at me and whispered, "Is part?" I nodded. I remember everything. And in that moment, I didn't feel like a visitor in the past. I felt like a child again, before the world got noisy, before everything needed to be figured out. We stepped through the front door. Time folded itself around me. The walls were exactly as I remembered, covered in hand-drawn pictures. Fading wallpaper and the smell of something baking in the oven. My heart beat louder than my footsteps. I could hear music playing softly in the background, my father's old records. The ones he'd play on Sunday afternoons while reading the newspaper. And then I saw her, my mother. She stood by the kitchen table, humming a tune I hadn't heard in years, her hands gently kneading dough. Her face was younger than I remembered, full of light and warmth. She didn't seem surprised to see me, just smiled, as if she had always known I'd return. The little boy ran to her and wrapped his arms around her waist. She kissed the top of his head. I stood frozen, watching, wanting to speak. Then she turned to me, her eyes meeting mine with a softness that broke something open in me. "You look tired," she said kindly. "Sit, you've come a long way." I did. I sat at the old wooden table, the same one where I used to draw rockets and dinosaurs, where I once spilled milk and cried because I thought I'd ruined everything. But none of that mattered now. She served us warm bread and soup, and I ate like I hadn't tasted anything real in years. No one asked questions. No one needed to. In that kitchen, time didn't matter. We laughed. The boy told her about school, and I listened, as if hearing the story for the first time, even though I already knew every word. It wasn't a grand moment, but it was the kind of moment I hadn't known I'd been missing until it was placed gently back into my hands. Eventually, the sun began to rise outside the window. The golden light stretched across the wooden floor of the kitchen like it had done so many times before. But this time, it felt like a goodbye. The boy had fallen asleep on the couch, his teddy bear tucked under his arm. My mother sat beside him, brushing his hair back with quiet love. She looked up at me and smiled, not with sadness but with knowing. "It's time," she said softly. I wanted to stay, wanted to hold on to this feeling, this warmth, this forgotten piece of myself. But somehow I knew this visit wasn't meant to last forever. I stood up slowly. My mother walked me to the door, like she used to on my first day of school. No big speeches, just her presence, her comfort. She hugged me once tight and familiar and whispered into my ear, "You didn't lose who you were, just stopped." Looking, as I stepped outside, the little red gate opened on its own, and in the distance, the train was waiting, steam rising, doors open, ready to take me back. The ride home felt different. The seat was warm. The world outside was bright again. And though I left that boy behind, I realized something beautiful. ... He was still with me, in my laugh, in my wonder, in the way I sometimes look at the sky and remember to dream when the train finally stopped. I stepped off alone, but no longer empty. I carried with me the quiet gift of remembering, not just where I came from, but who I had always been. And that night, for the first time in years, I slept with peace in my chest.